although we have a bigger room. Also, this is going to be recorded. So please, if you don't want that your image, your name appears then in the recording, switch off your camera, change the name. It's very complicated for me later to remove. So please be sure that you do those adjustments now. Now, also with this, I'm gonna start recording in, well, maybe in a couple of minutes while I keep seeing all the grants you are writing. Amazing. Brenda is writing also awards. This is amazing. Something I encourage everyone to think of what kind of awards you could go for. And many of the things we will discuss will apply, and many principles of grant writing also apply for awards. Yes, nice. I'm seeing a lot of also different grants, some of them that we never had. So this is also very nice. I see IDLET also is working on two, and DFG and a Marie Curie. This is amazing. Mandira, you're here. Mandira is also going for a Marie Curie and an ERC. Amazing, amazing. Love this. Also, Bonnie, I guess, is in the Netherlands, also has several in the planet. This is amazing. So the first thing that I want all of you get out of this project, or for the project, sorry, out of this class, is that you click on the top of the chat. There are three dots. Save the chat, and you just got a little database of potential calls. So if you see calls there you never heard about, well, have a look. Have a look what they are. And don't think like, oh, no, now more people are going to apply with my call. Don't worry. A lot of people will apply to your call. So here we approach all this with a collaborative perspective and an abundance mindset. So thank you all. Thank you all for sharing. This is amazing. Okay, I love this. Larissa, it's you here also. Not knowing where to start. Yes, this is a big thing. And I hope that these 3 days together will kick off for all of you who don't know yet, are a bit unsure maybe about the idea, to which runs to write for, where to start writing. That already helps you to kick off the process. And anyone who's already in the process, please revise everything we share, revise how you were doing it, and use also especially the co-working sessions to advance this process of grant writing. Amazing. Thank you all for sharing. This has been really, really nice. Oh, I see also Sophia writing for a Benny next year. Amazing. This is also super important that we also think not just the grant I have now in my hands, but what kind of things I could apply for next year, in 2 years' time. And this long-term perspective is something really important. Well, thank you all. Really appreciate all your sharing. Keep it going. And also, before I start recording, just also a little bit of housekeeping rules. I like to leave the chat open because I need to interact with you, ask questions, see what you reply. But it's true that sometimes it gets a little bit noisy and people chatting at all times. Please refrain from that. This is very nice, very cozy. I love it. But it's distracting for you if you are, instead of paying attention to what we are talking about, if you are just chatting in the background, and also distracted for others. So please keep sharing when I ask you to share. But in the moments when we are not sharing, please hold yourself and try to focus. This is one of the things we try to do here at I Focus and Write, to practice more of that focus. Well, now we'll start recording. We gave 5 minutes for people also to join. So also for anyone watching the recording later, you're more than welcome. And for everyone, I will record all the classes, the 3 days. And at the end of the day, I will send you all an email with the link to watch the replays. These replays will be available for all of you until Tuesday next week. And please be sure you watch it. Okay. Also, during this live class, for everyone who is here, I'm going to be sharing some extra resources that are only available for the people who show up live. Don't worry if you're watching the replay and you missed the first day, come the second day or the third, and I will also share them there again. So with that, let's start. So I'm going to be sharing my slides. 1 second while we start with this. So welcome all. So hopefully you all are seeing these slides. And we are going to be together for 3 days. So I hope you could make some time, some space for this. Because yes, we have classes, but we also have co-working sessions, which they are for you to truly push your grant writing. And what I'm going to be sharing is that big picture strategy that makes the backbone of how I help our most advanced clients, those who are already mostly finished the PhD. Several of them already have their permanent position to write their projects and their grants. And I've been sharing with you that this is a taster. A few times a year, I do kind of an open doors days. This is a boot camp where you are invited to experience what is working together. And specifically, this bootcamp is around the academic launchpad, our grant writing program. So please, if anyone is interested, this is the ideal week to join us. And I will tell you more about it at the end of the class. I always recommend you can of course contact me by email or by WhatsApp. There is a WhatsApp link everywhere, just because my emails end up in the spam very often. And then with WhatsApp, we are sure we are connected. And I will also tell you at the end, because we are also having a 2-day ERC intensive. I see a lot of people here writing ERC grants. And this is a really cool thing, especially for those of you who don't want to be 4 months working together, but something contained and intense. So stay till the end and you will hear all about it. The next thing I wanted to also ask you, I'm always asking for stuff, is that you help me spread the love. So we do these free activities, like I said, a few times a year. It takes a lot of time to organize. I really want you all get out of these days with value, inspiration, new strategies, grant proposals really on the go. So please invite your colleagues, your friends, tell your university they can work with us, because this is how our online business especially can stay alive. Now, having said that, it's time to think about you, and I would love also to hear, to see in the chat, why deep down do you want to get funded? And this is how we start all my programs, with that why. This why is the key to intrinsic motivation. Yes, deadlines work, accountability works, but we need the intrinsic motivation in place first. And it's that connection to what really matters to you, which might be very different from what matters to me or to other people in your lab. And having this very clear is very important, especially in difficult processes like writing a grant proposal that sometimes take months, that often come with rejections, that often come with feedback that is not exactly what we were expecting. And connecting with this why is what will boost your motivation. So I see some people already sharing in the chat. I love it. Please keep that coming. And I'm going to start reading these whys. But before that, if you're a little bit unsure, you want things a little bit easier, let me share 3 things that sometimes inspire the people that come here. One why can be money. And I know it sounds very practical, but we all need to live, pay bills, have food, and have a good life. That's something I really want for all of you. So especially those of you who are not in a permanent position yet, this can be a big why, and it's an important one. Number 2 can be freedom. I'm highly connected with this one, and it's one of my values, and is to have that freedom to live in the country you want, work in your dream department, dream university, And also connected to this comes the idea of working on your own research line. This is more of intellectual freedom, but also to build a team that you love, buy the equipment you need, and also work on your own ideas. So no more on the ideas of others, but on your own. So please tell us also if you feel more one, two, three, all of them. It's all welcome. In the meantime, I'm going to keep reading some of the nice things you have shared. I say funding for a postdoc. Yes, that's how many of us start or push our grant writing process. Yes, I love Hadika mentioning to join a research group in a field that I love. This connects with that freedom. Curiosity and to stay in the line of work I love. Yes, this curiosity and keep being able of pursuing is so important. So curiosity is also connecting here with Ingrid and higher team. This is also important because there is only that much, right, that we can do on our own. I see also independency, creating our own line, own group. Yes, Oliva saying something very important, to translate it to a realistic vision. So here we want to dream and have plans that we can get done. I'm very passionate about combining both approaches. Yes, and this indeed, this is the path to returning to work after a period out of academia, maybe a period working in the industry. So it's also very important that we connect with these possibilities. Yeah, that's so nice. Thank you all. Keep on sharing. This is super nice. I love it. Something I cannot read everything now, but I save the chat and afterwards I will read all of the things you are sharing. So please keep it going. Really nice. Thank you so much. I also wanted to share one of my big whys of why, especially in the last years here, I'm talking more and more about getting funded, writing grant proposals. And it's news like this, that female scientists get less money and stuff for their first labs, that women are credited less in science than men. And basically, there is a wealth gap in biomedical research, especially where women and Black researchers are behind. And I always say, oh, if you're a man here or you don't identify as a woman, you are also very welcome to stay here in our community. And also, we work with many people who do not identify as a woman. But still, I hope you all here agree that we need to change news like this. And the current strategies might not be working for you. Well, they are not working, but especially for you, you might also feel it. And I wanted now to share a little bit more about me after especially hearing from all of you here on the chat. And it's something that I always like to share is that I've been you. I was also a scientist or a researcher. I only recently discovered that scientists sometimes is only for STEM field, but I use it broadly any research field you are at. We work also with historians, archaeologists, linguistics. So often I talk about science, but it's scientists, researchers, academics. And in my case, in this, I was more of an STM scientist. I was a biologist. I say now I'm a retired entomologist, but I went through the traditional path, through 15 years of research experience, from which 10 years I was a postdoc. And well, I work on the topic on plant microbe interactions. First, I did a PhD in Spain, then came to the Netherlands, mostly working at Wageningen University, which, if you don't know, is an amazing university in the Netherlands, but very focused on life sciences. And through this journey, well, I've been editor of several journals, had many collaborations, did my own experiments, wrote my papers, and also work as a grant reviewer for several organisms. And of course, I did write my own rants. I will tell you later, maybe tomorrow, about those. Some work, others not. But it all brought us here. And since 2020, I work full time as the founder and CEO of I Focus and Write, where we have served more than 900 clients. And what we bring is a more mindful approach to academia, to focus productivity, writing, and getting funded. Like to mention also this more mindful approach ended up in Nature as a column. And during these years, we have worked with clients from all around the world and help them write grants like ERC, Marie Curie, different types of NW grants, UKRA, or DFT. And today in this bootcamp, what you will learn is first, today we will focus on the 2 traps that are stopping brilliant scientists like you from even submitting big grants. Then the 5 mindset shifts to stop writing your next grant proposal like a scientific paper. This is a big mistake that I see over and over that we do, and it's normal. We are writing papers all the time, but writing a grant proposal is a different type of writing. And I say it's more like a sales website than a scientific paper. And writing these type of pieces require a mindset shift. And the last day, we will talk about the 4 elements of the grant writing systems that our clients implement, so you can immediately also implement it for yourself. And how will we do this? Well, every day we will have a class from 1 to more or less 2:30, from Monday to Wednesday. And reminder, that will be replaced if anybody has to leave early. And after that, we are going to do a co-working session of 2 hours. This is together on Zoom, in silence, you working on your grant proposal or implementing some of the ideas that we see during the class. So this is not time to waste on anything, it's to stay very focused and really give your, the accountability to do your work. And this is something that we do in almost every day in our programs, and I want that you experience the magic of co-working together. At the end, we have some time for questions, short pieces of feedback, and these sessions will be today, tomorrow, finishing at 5:30, and Wednesday, we always run it in our program at 4, and we will do the same. Now, with this, we are gonna start with the content of today, which are those 2 traps that are stopping people to write these big grants. Actually, any grants, but I especially see most of our clients that are currently working with us are writing ERC grants or that type of big competitive grant. And these are the problems that I always see coming on their way. And actually, I would like that you also share, in your case, what would you say that has stopped you from getting funding so far? So this is a question I ask a lot of people, and after doing some of this, I don't remember how you call it, this type of word graphic, these are the 2 words that popped up the most. But I'm curious if you have other things that have stopped you. Please share it in the chat. We'd love to see it. And then maybe tomorrow I can show you a new word graphic. So think about it. Is the idea, is time, like many people, is maybe project management aspects, is starting, start is also here kind of prominent. Sometimes is that is not the year. Sometimes we are thinking when will be the right moment to do it. So please let us know. Yes, it's starting for some people. Too much publishing, yes, so sometimes a problem. We are so focused on the papers that we don't have time, or we don't make the time to write our grant proposals. Yeah, this is also a thing, feeling that I don't properly understand the funding landscape in Europe or the Netherlands. So, especially if you are in a country that you are new to this place, this is very common. So, what we will talk more about it, but the best is just ask your colleagues, ask your supervisor, see what type of course, like we have done here in the chat, are people writing for. That's the best thing. Ooh, I see here fear of failure. This is a big one. We don't talk enough about it. And actually, we will talk more about it on tomorrow, but this is a big thing. Okay, suspect I'm not very good at writing run proposals, but also struggle because linguistic, humanistic, humanities, social, oh, okay, in the intersection. So yes, many people also, you might feel that your field is quite multidisciplinary or even interdisciplinary between different fields. And actually, this is a very good topic tomorrow. Not taking note because I would like tomorrow to talk more about it. But yes, definitely to where to go, which angle to give to this type of grant is an extra challenge. So definitely in these cases, again, go back to your colleagues, see where are your colleagues getting funded? Not so much submitting, but also getting funded. And when I say where, yes, which call, but also which panels. For example, for ERC, there are different panels and there is quite some differences between panels. So it's very important that you submit to the right panel. Okay, amazing. This is so good. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to save the chat again. So we're going to see these two big traps, time and idea. And then again, as you share in the chat, I will then later read it and we might be covering more of these struggles or blocks either tomorrow or after tomorrow. So time, what is what I hear often about time? Well, lack of time, time to think, which is also very important, not just to write, but also to think, dedicate time, so really focus. Well, poor time management, all these are extracts from feedback forms. And some of these things are things that you might be also feeling. It's not worth the risk and time. We were also talking about whether it's worthy or not. Also the duration of the project. Sometimes these projects are maybe the longest project you have been writing since you wrote your PhD. So that also requires a different type of system. And again, the idea of time to find your idea. So I hope that some of these rings a bell in you, but I just want to highlight something. Nobody has time to write. You need to make time and then protect the time. So actually, it's a three-step process. Make the time, protect the time, and then write when it's time to write. To make the time is what we are going to start seeing now. Protecting is setting boundaries, because one thing is that you say, oh, I'm going to start blocking one day every week to write. But then do you really keep it blocked? Or when then people ask you to meet, you keep ending up in meetings that day that was supposed to be for writing? And then write means write and write this grant proposal. No, oh, let me quickly write an email, or let me write this part of my paper, or do something that is not even writing. So think always we need these three parts. And the first step is estimate the time that we need. Because something that I always like to say, especially when we talk about goal setting, is that I want that you all set risky goals. So goals that really stretch you. Not realistic, no, risky. But the plan to get there, that plan should be realistic. We should really have a step by step that we see it and we are like, yeah, I can do this. And if some parts of the plan you feel, oof, I'm not sure I can do this, let's see what kind of help I can gather. So in this estimation, imagine that you work full time, 40 hours a week on your grant proposal. Initially, you could have heard, or maybe you were planning for a medium call, like a Marie Curie or a Veni type of grant, something that will give you money for less than 3 people, a month full time. Maybe some of you have been successful allocating this time for this type of grants. For a big grant like an ERC, VDVC, those type of grants that we are more entering the million mark, where you are thinking on asking money for more than 3 people, maybe you were planning 2 months. Well, this is only the first step, because I always recommend people double this time. There is a very simple reason, is that there is evidence that we cannot do deep work more than 4 hours a day. And deep work is the type of work you need to do for these grant proposals. Is that work that requires your full concentration, full focus, energy. It's not the work you do after lunch, for example. It's the work you need to do in your best time of the day. And well, we only have about 4 hours of that time a day. So very simple reason to double it. But then it comes a next thing, and it's that often what I see that the problem is that people are not planning for the unexpected and expected things that have in their lives. Examples of expected things: the teaching load that you might have, conferences you are going to, experiments, big experiments, either you or your team when you need to sometimes help people, family events, holidays. And sometimes, yes, you plan for this time, but you don't plan the real time that you will need. For example, something that I always see is that if you leave for a conference, you think, okay, I will be in a conference for 3 days. Yes, but the 2 days before, you probably need to leave everything arranged for the time you are off. And the 2 days after, when you come back, you're probably busy getting rid of emails and processing work that happened while you were away. So this is an important extra time that we need to add to the expected things happening. And then comes the unexpected. And the unexpected are things we cannot plan, but they are gonna come. That is for sure. And think about sickness. You or your family members, those of you who have children, you might be experiencing this. Lifing with things like maybe you suddenly cannot focus. You don't know what it is, but you feel very distracted. Maybe you get a big rejection of a paper or something that leaves you a bit unsettled and that you cannot focus. Or the void. And the void is something we will talk more about it on the third day, but it's an intrinsic part of any creative process. And it's this phase of the creative process where basically you feel lost and like nothing is happening and you have no ideas, and things are not really happening, at least in terms of progressing in your project. And for this, I like to allocate 20% of your time. So with this, our grand total, it ends up being more than what we thought in the beginning. So from that 1 month for a medium call, I would recommend you to dedicate at least 3 months. And from those 2 months in the beginning for big calls, I would recommend you to dedicate 6 months. Now, this is not 6 months really writing. There are different phases we're going to see now in a moment. But before we move, let me see in the chat if anybody's sharing anything. Yes. Okay, but the slides, I didn't share that. No, I will not share the slides, but you will have the replay. So once you watch the replay, if there is anything you want to take a screenshot, you can do that then. Okay. Well, how does it look month to month? And I'm going to share now an example, for an ERC consolidator grant. And something that often I hear and people push me back when I say, okay, let's start writing, let's start working on your proposal, is this sentence of, I don't know the final idea yet. I cannot start writing because I don't really know exactly what I want to do. Please let me know in the chat if any of you feel like at that stage, like I don't know yet exactly what I want to do, so I'm not writing yet. Please let me know. I would love to see it. Okay. I see some yeses coming. Some guilty people, yes. Okay, this is very common. And yeah, very important point also for papers. Exactly. Yes, this is a general problem with any writing. Now we need to change this. And I love to show this quote that just because you don't know your destination doesn't mean you should stop moving forward. It's from Alison Rachel. And it's something that I try that everyone incorporates because writing is thinking. So as you write, ideas will come up. Writing is a way of boosting your creativity and actually really defining clearly your thoughts and this grand proposal or paper idea. And also more ideas will come. There is evidence of this, plenty of evidence. That's one of the reasons why overusing AI is dangerous. So be careful with that. Having said that, I'm a fan of also using AI for the right things. But connect with this that writing is thinking, and that even if you don't know the final idea, you need to start writing at least whatever you have clear. And I want that you visualize it like a thread ball, like a thread that you start pulling at the thread and slowly everything starts unfolding. And this is what I see happening over and over. So anyone who is postponing any sort of writing, waiting to the idea to be clear, final, etc., let's change the approach and let's start writing. Now, how does this look? So I told you, for an ERC consolidator grant, this is an approximate schedule of what I would recommend. April, May, time to define that winning idea. Time to read. It's important when we are writing grant proposals that we read the newest papers, some classics, things that maybe are not exactly connected to your field, but that will inspire you. But also to write. As you read, try to build a habit of read and write. And of course, there are months to discuss with your colleagues because they are going to be a big source of inspiration. And also, we will talk more about it tomorrow, but also an important part on coming up with a strong proposal. And these are the months that I recommend people to at least start writing your B1. Then comes a bit of the summer months, June, July, August, and I group them here because here I focus on right when the people write, get their work done, and take their holidays. This is one of the biggest things I'm proud of, that our clients take their holidays. And for that, we plan an expansive summer, but also that at the end of the summer, you should have a first version of a B1 ready to start circulating around colleagues. And then September, October, they are the core months of writing, getting really deep into your writing, finishing that B1 after feedback, also finishing the B2, also sending for feedback. I say it's a scary moment because when we send our writing for feedback, it's always, that fear that people are not going to like it, or that fear that some of the comments will not be what we want. But again, it's a very necessary step. And then November is to incorporate all this feedback, wrap up details, figures, double check that both parts tell the same story, because in long processes, the last sentence you write has changed quite a lot the idea that you had at the beginning. So it's important to double check that when you go back and read what you started writing, it still makes a coherent story. And then with this, I like that you plan to leave December for finals changes and compensate for those unexpected delays that life is gonna throw at you. So with this, let me know in the chat if, especially those of you planning for ERC Consolidator, take a screenshot. I hope this helps. But also anybody thinking of writing a grant with a deadline in December, January next year, you can follow a similar approach. Huh? Yeah, I was going to say it's basically 9 months, not 6 months. Well, it's because I like to live here the July, August, kind of a summer holidays. And this December is really final changes compensated for unexpected delays. So this is the most expansive plan that I recommend. Accounting and many people, again, have responsibilities. Maybe you are teaching, supervising people, maybe you have children, you hopefully want to take holidays, maybe there is a conference in between. And if we put all that mix, then this is where we land to. Okay, is a similar timeline for starting run? Yes, only you need to adjust the months. And the same if anyone is writing an advanced grant or again, any other call, right now in the ERC new outline, B1, B2 is now very similar to many other proposals. The B1 is more what that introduction and state of the art in other calls is, while the B2 is more of what the research strategy and the work packages of other calls is. Sophia is saying, I'm already late. Well, I wanted to also share that this is, of course, a question I'm getting a lot now. Am I too late for an ERC advanced starting or Marie Curie? No, Sophia, and anybody doubting, you're not too late, but it's go time. Okay? So let's take that all these months until now, they have been more on that idea preparation, idea thinking. But also when we say now is go time, some things that are important, make it a priority. Now that time of, oh, but first I need to finish this paper, no. Focus on the grant proposal. That paper that you think you need to finish is probably not going to be accepted or help you with this proposal. Unless it's really like, yes, it will be in a repository and it's not so much work and it will help me. Okay, then in that case it has a pass. Otherwise, I recommend let it go for after. Also work almost full time on this project. So be very careful of if you are starting now with this type of grants of thinking that with 1 day a week will be enough. Probably it's not. Build accountability around it. Now more than ever, anybody feeling like you are almost there. So accountability at any steps, everything you can around to do around it. Tomorrow we will talk more about that. And careful with things like holidays. Like I said, I'm a big fan of going on holidays, but if you plan then to go 4 months on holidays to Thailand, 4 months, 4 weeks, that's quite long holidays, plus jet lag, plus a big international trip. So see what feels good for you. And then conferences, the same. It's not the same to go to a conference for a couple of days close to home that again, do an international trip where there is jet lag, where you need to prepare maybe a lot of work. And the same with experiments. It's time to be careful with these things. And of course, gather all resources and help you can. And tomorrow we will talk more about it too. Let me see some questions popping up here. Oh yeah, Fajar. So B1 and B2 are the two parts of an ERC proposal, but I hope I explained that it's quite similar for others. And it is asking, is this similar for DFU too? Yes, well, DFG has a lot of types, right? But you can follow a similar approach. And this is an indication, please remember this. There will be variation, of course, depending on your expertise and skills at run writing. Whether this is a first-time submission or you are reusing material that you already have from another submission, how senior you are, what kind of help you have. So there is, of course, variation, but this is something that I I'm seeing quite commonly. Yes. Okay, yeah, no worries. If someone has to leave, there will be a reply. Yes, Sorina. So ERC, I'm not going to get here into details, but indeed, you have, I think, up to starting grant up to 10 years. So before that, you might want to apply to other national calls, or if you are in Europe, international like Marie Curie. This is quite a common path for people. And Mike is also sharing some things. We'll come back to that later. Amazing, thank you. Now, what about grants with a two-step process? So, for example, I heard some people here in the Netherlands, so this is very common in the Veni Vidi Vici. For example, Volkswagen grants in Germany. I think also the Welcome Trust. Correct me if you think I'm wrong. But these are type of grants where there are two phases. First, you submit a pre-proposal, and if you pass that, then you submit a full proposal. But my recommendation is that after you submit your pre-proposal, for most people, you don't have time to wait to be notified to then start writing the full proposal. Maybe if you are in your career and you don't have big responsibilities, yes. But for example, I've been working with several people writing Vichy grants, and people who are teaching and who have holidays, we have children, and they pretty much at the moment they submit the pre-proposal, they need to start working on the full proposal, even if they don't know that they will pass. Still, just remember this, and something I will keep coming back. You If it's not fun, you don't pass to that second phase, think that you will submit that somewhere else. But I recommend you to then continue working, because then you have more chances to have a strong, good, full proposal. And otherwise, often I hear that people end up really last minute and submitting proposals that are not in a good state. So please be careful with these two-step processes. Okay, Lida is mentioning no, full proposal and then interview step. Okay, so it's a bit different, sorry. Not sure if then maybe from UK arrive. Well, something in the UK I think has this type. Thanks for clarifying here, Lida. And you're gonna hear, and maybe some of you hear, but this person wrote it in a month and got it funded. I know these people, I hear about these people. Yes, they exist, but I also say they are unicorns. To me, they are the exception, not the rule. And what I would like is that all of you here, you don't prepare to be the exception. If then you are, amazing, but do not plan for this. Actually, if any of you are in this situation, please tell us in the chat. It's always also nice to see that this happens. Now, another question I'm getting a lot about people going for ERC, especially because this year they wanted to change the timeline, the penalty that they give you when you don't pass to the second phase. In the past, well, depending on your score, you will have a 1 or 2 year timeline. And this year they were trying to extend even more, although there was a lot of complaints, and then they kind of back off, maybe not for all the types, but at least for the personal ones. And I think it's going to happen. Maybe next year is when it will happen. So it's something you need to consider and make a long-term plan in terms of years. Because if you get a bad or a B or a C, for example, that you don't pass to the interview, you will not be allowed to apply the next year. So you will need to wait. And especially in the years or these other grants, when you have a timeline and otherwise you cannot apply, it's important to understand and make a strategy. Now, having said that, if this is the last year, for example, you can apply for a starting grant, go. Really like make it your priority and go. If it's the last year of a consolidator, the same, go. Make it the priority, do your best and go because anyways, it's the last year that you can apply. Now, if you have 2 or 3 years, it depends. There you need to carefully check, like, okay, if I wait, will my CV improve? Because sometimes not really. But if it does, if you see you can make your proposal stronger, yeah, then it might be worth waiting. And for more than 3 years, definitely make a strategy, especially see if you have enough time to make a strategy, even considering what if I don't get it and I get a penalty, can I still reapply? And I write here 1.5 because it's something they mentioned from ERC that applicants who reapply have 1.5 higher chance of getting funded. So I want that you make this reapplication part of your strategy. Let me see. Okay, your guest is indeed mentioning the welcome leave has pre and full proposal. Yes. Yay. Titi is mentioning wrote MSc Marie Curie in 6 weeks and was well, congratulations. This is amazing. Yes. Oh, very nice. Yeah, this is really, really good. And I'm not going to get into detail of all the things that of all the different calls. But just for all of yours, in case someone applied to Marie Curie, didn't get funded, especially the last call, the really high scores still did not get funded. So I always say those who got it did amazing. So here, congratulations, UTT. But if you did not get it, doesn't mean that your ideas were not good, that your CV was not good. It's just that it's very competitive. Oof, yeah, that's a very good question, Irene. I heard that the idea is that after 3 years and with the new changes, do you think reapplying can still increase chances? Well, this 1.5 is based on numbers and evidence. So right now we don't have that evidence, right? What happens after 3 years? But talking about that, I would like to challenge this because your idea is that in 3 years, was that a good idea to start with at all? So this, of course, will depend on many things. And I know that some fields are very competitive in this sense. But what if we challenge ourselves to come with an idea that even after 3 years will still be a good one? And when I say reapplying, doesn't mean I get the same proposal and submit it again. Of course, you will do changes, and maybe there are new twists, new angles, and that's also what will make that change. But we're going to talk now about the idea, and hopefully that also gives you some idea there. Irene has a very good question. Do you see feasible write Marie Curie and starting grant? Yes, I do. But there are a big few things here, like is it about exactly same topic or different topics? It will help. One will help you with the other because you, especially if you are immersed in your grant writing process, you are improving your skills much faster. You are full into grant writing mode. And if there is, of course, probably there is an overlap, right, on ideas that what you read, for example, in some papers that help you with one will help you with the other two. So yes, I 100% see it possible. It all depends also how you plan your time. Ooh, Sana, that's a very good question. I don't have any experience. I know that indeed people sometimes claim for extensions, but you need some proof, some official documents. But I'm sorry, I cannot help you with that. be sure you have official documents, not just you saying, but official documents that support what you are going to show. Oh, another example, someone who got the Marie Curie after reapplying. Yes, always go for second chances. And now that you mentioned that, something important with Marie Curie, and a lot of people, that's their limitation, is that you cannot leave it in the country more than a year. At least last time I checked the guidelines. So if you were already planning to move to that country, keep this into my mind and maybe move a bit later, so to be sure that then you can apply 2 years. Ooh, Anya, no, I don't know because there is people who gets A but do not pass to the interview phase. But I have the numbers of people who pass to the interview phase. Only, I don't know now by heart. But if you search for, I think they call it numbers. Well, in the ERC website, they give the statistics and numbers. So maybe you can define there about the percentage of people getting an A. Maybe check it there. Larissa has a very good question. Would it be better to gain experience with smaller grant applications before going for the big grants? Yes, and also think that smaller grants, not just that you get experience at writing, is also that it's showing your CV that you can get funded, which is something nice to have and something even required. So that's indeed great. The other thing is that make all part of a plan. For example, I don't want that you miss in this timeline that you have to apply to big grants just because you fell insecure because you didn't get the small ones. But if you have enough time, I would love that you make a plan where maybe in the beginning you're going to apply for more, for smaller grants, and then you have still a few chances to go for the bigger ones. So I hope this answered that question. Amazing. Well, I will continue. I'm always late. I have to, oh yeah, I'm late. So what does depend on that decision, whether going or not? Well, of course, let's be honest, your CV matters, especially when we go to personal grants, and here things like papers, leadership, prizes and awards that some of you are going for, having gotten funded. Preliminary data, especially for these big grants, providing some preliminary data where you want to actually then go big is becoming the norm. So that will highly be beneficial. Also, of course, your writing productivity skills, super important, and your life schedule. So also, if anybody is thinking longer term, but you feel that you don't have all these skills, all these writings, know that we have another program, the Thriving Scientist, that helps you with writing papers and productivity. And then with all this, I want that you land it on a plan, because I always say that the problem is not how to write a single proposal, it's how to write it while doing everything else at the same time. And I'm going to share, and actually, let me share. Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to share now in the chat is an example of our project tracker. So I ask all our students, so you can click there and then you click File, make a copy, or download. And I ask all our clients to fill and make these planners. So with everything that we have seen, I want that you do this for yourself and your deadlines and your life, your holidays, your conferences, everything. So what the most important for this tracker, on each line, you write 1 week, and on different columns, you write the things you need to finish for that week. So here we are talking about, for example, an ERC, and there are 2 tabs. There is an example for an ERC consolidator, and I think another one for advanced. And but you see how week by week we made this plan, quite a long one. If you have less time, you can say, okay, maybe the developing my idea framework, I need to do it in a week, not in two. So you will see how you need to condense this for yourself. And also here, you see people for project one. So this is the people in the stages at which we recommend that you gather feedback from colleagues, or if you, for example, work with us, from us, or whatever, whoever it is, but try to get some sounding boards at this moment. So the first homework from the bootcamp is actually make your planner, okay? Fill it, and you can add, like here you see project 2, paper, maybe you're writing a paper, or project 3, grant number 2, and add people to those projects too. And what in the end I want is that you use these to manage, well, you can use this to manage all your writing projects, specifically your grant writing projects, and being sure that week by week you are finishing what you need to. If not, you see also here buffer week. I told you we were going to keep 20% of the time for the unexpected things, and this is a buffer week. Every 4 weeks we leave 1 week empty for potential delays. Now, if you, maybe some of you here are already using this this template. Let me know in the chat if you are already using it. If not, please use it. And a reminder, it only works when you use it. Okay, it would be great if you just make the plan and then that's it. That's not enough. You need to keep using it. Mighty, yes, I know Mighty is using it. Love it. And it's working very well for her. Amazing. Now we come to the second trap, and this one I will go a little bit faster, and is the having a good idea. And this is something that many people stop, don't submit, because they feel they don't have an idea good enough, or good enough for this type of call. And this is some of the things that people tell me when I ask them about this. What has stopped you from getting funding so far around the idea? So things like not confident in my ideas, not believe that I can get funding for my research, that the ideas are not good enough, that ideas are not creative, feeling that confidence on what you write, or the development of the idea. Let me know also if what kind of things around the idea are what are stopping you here today, please. I would love to see it in the chat. Well, and in the meantime, while that comes, I continue. And I want that when we think about this part of the idea, I want to remind you all that growth is not a perfectly linear process. And I want to come back to this, that I said at the beginning, that even if you feel you don't have it, start, because there are going to be moments that you're going to be light bulbs, and moments when you're going to feel that the idea is terrible. And all these moments are part of this growth process that you will go through with your project. Okay. Oh, very good. Sarah is mentioning, I have been told my idea is not deliverable. So this is very important too. So we need a good idea, but also that when we write it, remember, we want a risky goal, but a realistic plan. So I want that you think also that, yes, maybe the idea is risky, but the plan should be realistic, okay? Yeah, this is very important. I don't have the right CV for executing the idea. Well, but Fiona, I have good news. You choose another idea. So I want that you all also connect with the possibility of coming with any idea you want. And indeed, for many of these personal grants especially, you need to show you are the best person for this idea. So these two things need to be a match. Okay? Doesn't mean that you will never do this idea. I tend to say, first get the money and do whatever you want, up to a limit. But maybe then will be also for future projects. Ooh, Ellen, this is good. Changing focus, moving from one idea to another. So tomorrow we'll also talk more about this, but sometimes we need to really stick with an idea, even if we think it's boring, just because we have been too long with that. And here, again, having that external view from colleagues can be super helpful. Eva, this is true. A lot of energy and time goes into it. Yes, that is true. And here, something that we want to, and tomorrow we will talk more about it too. What we need to see is how, yes, it's going to go a lot of time and energy. So, how can I make it worth it? So, this is something I want that all of you also think. How can I make this process worth it? Okay, well, I'm going to save this because there's a lot of goodness here. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. I will go back to this. Oh, Maya has a question that often comes, and people ask me, can I use the same proposal for various calls? So I will tell you more tomorrow how I did it myself. The answer is yes, but it depends. Okay, so you can do a mix and match. For example, a national call and a European one, or a call that is on your name and that will be money for you, and a call that is maybe not on your name, maybe is with your supervisor. So if you get both, with that one you could hire someone. So there are different possibilities there. It's not a straight yes or no, unfortunately. Yes, so also tomorrow we'll talk about working with people, and getting the right feedback can be challenging, but there are also things we can do there. So we will talk more about it. Thank you a lot for sharing here. So some things about the idea. I wanted you connect with that there is an abundance of idea, and we need to move from a scarcity mindset, and it's like, oh, I had a good idea and I will never have a good idea again, to an abundance mindset, and that there are plenty of ideas out there and plenty of good ideas. So from I don't have ideas to I can generate ideas. I'm a creative soul that I can keep creating new ideas. From I have now a good idea and I'm not gonna share it, to wait, why is this? No, so sorry, I don't know what I wanted to say here. Okay, so this is, I know, from I had a good idea and wasn't funded to it will be funded. It's a matter of time. Or I already had my best idea 5 years ago. Well, you can generate more. And actually, you can be inspired by what was that good idea? How did that idea came to life? Why it was so good? To try to replicate the process and generate more of them. And having said this, some days you won't believe that this is possible, that there are all these good ideas, that your idea for the proposal is good. And I want that you also pay attention to these days and these up and downs that you're going to have in the process, because they're really part of the process. And especially if you have a menstrual cycle, please be aware that there is especially the premenstrual phase when you probably don't think your idea is good enough, and it's part of the process. So if this happens, identify and just wait a few days before changing everything, please. Also, how you're feeling in general, your body, if you are feeling a bit sick or tired, but also your nervous system. What is happening in your life, like whether you are stressed, you are getting rejections about other things that is also impacting how you feel about this project. When receiving feedback, this is a big thing, and some of you were already mentioning, when we get, especially not constructive, but negative feedback, and these people don't know how to give feedback. And when you get this type of feedback, they can really make you doubt about yourself. And it's very important, again, that you have there some support to process these moments. And of course, the imposter voices. So something we speak here a lot in our communities about imposter syndrome and that inner critic that often is going to be telling you, no, why you want to go for this big grant, you stand no chance, you're going to embarrass yourself. They are all imposter voices, and it's important also to detect them. But other days, you're gonna feel amazing, like the queen of this world. And we want to call more of that energy. So in class 3, we would talk more about creativity and the creativity cycle. But today, I want that you think about a concept that in terms of thinking about an idea, it takes the same word to think on a 10 times big idea than on a 2 times. And this comes from this book. I loved it. I listened to the audiobook this year. 10x is easier than 2x. It's quite focused on business, but it has very interesting ideas that, especially when we go for big grants like Marie Curie, ERCs, they apply very well. And it's that when it's time to think big. Even if you don't get that big, the process that we need to put into place is what will help us reach much higher than if you are thinking on a 2 times idea. And how to find that 10x idea. So this is something that with the people who, this bootcamp we also did in January, and with the people who already joined our program, we're talking a lot about coming up with those big ideas, especially, for example, in the ERC context of high gain, high risk. And I would like that all of you step into your visionary shoes. So think of yourself like that visionary expert. So you are an expert on what you are proposing, even if sometimes you don't feel like that, but you are. And on that aspect of being a visionary, because this project you are writing will finish in 5 to 8 years with the time that you are writing, the time you know that you get it funded. If it gets some delay until the time you finish, it's going to pass a lot of time. So connecting with this comment that some of you had, whether in 3 years this idea will still be relevant, right? Well, actually, I wanted you to think on ideas that will be relevant in 8 years. Those are the good ERC ideas. So think on, of course, we don't know how the world will be in 8 years, but try to predict how it will be. Think how will be in terms of your field, of what you give to the world, and you can ask these questions to yourself. What will the world need by then in 8 years? What will push your scientific field forward in 8 years? Okay? And what would science, the journal Science or Nature, if this is somewhere where you would love to publish one day, publish in 8 years? So this is a different type of thinking of what will happen this year or even next year. So please do this practice of stepping in those visionary shoes and see if this helps you to think on a more of a 10x idea that will also pass better the test of resubmitting, even if it's in 3 years. Now, sources that can help you to connect with these. Well, first, official sources, guidelines, webinars. If you, at some point, I want that you become an expert on this call. Don't just read the guidelines once and write it and submit. Really go to anything that you can. I love also the example someone here was mentioning that got the Marie Curie and attended a boot camp that the university organized. Please do that. But also online, especially the big calls, they organize online webinars with panels of experts, with people who have gotten it. Just bath yourself in all this information, okay? Then I say the gossip, like people who you know or you have heard have been in committees or who have tried being successful. Sometimes me, people who have a bit of also behind the scenes and that expertise. Oh, I see there is a WhatsApp group channel for ERC info. Oh, I didn't know. That's very interesting. So these type of things, in my time, there were forums. Maybe now it's WhatsApp, but try to be really updated and also talk to people who know about this call and know also about your topic, to connect both things. And I'm gonna be sharing with you also, we have a custom GPT of ERC ideas. So I need to stop first presenting and I'm gonna share with you, all of you in the chat. I will also share it tomorrow and on Wednesday. So we have trained this custom GPT with all ERC funded projects that are available online, the title, the descriptions. Plus, of course, I've given some specific instructions of what to give, what to ask, how to behave. And it has been very helpful for many people. So if you usually use ChatGPT, if you don't, please do not go just to do this. But if it's something you do, you might want to play with it. I will share it now here in a moment. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. So we have the link here also of the WhatsApp for anyone interested on ERCs. Now, although this one we have trained with ERCs, people have been applying for ideas on any other type of call. Some people told me they even apply for ideas about their papers. So it can give you ideas about not just ERC, but any grant that you have. And maybe before I share it, please tell me in the chat and then I will get the link. What kind of feedback are you getting about your idea? What is people telling you? So some people already were telling us above that they were told that it was too ambitious or not aligned with your CV. What other feedback are you getting from others? So not so much what you think, but what are others telling you? Please share in the chat and in the meantime I get the link. Okay, so I'm gonna share here the link to the ChatGPT. Let me see. Oops, sorry, there is a strange thing there. Okay, now should work. Let me see what you have been sharing there. Operational. Not sure what you mean, Sarah. If you want to clarify a bit, that would be very nice. Research questions are important. Giuseppe, I love it. They are essential. Not only research questions, but I also would say hypotheses too. I did not consider the implementation risks. Yes. Risks are also more and more important, especially if we talk about ERCs, even more Marie Curie's, and understand what are the conceptual, not only methodological risks, but the conceptual risks of your proposal, and then describing a contingency plan is very important. Okay, so when people tell you they don't understand, we need to make them understand it, okay? So yes, sometimes it's like, yeah, but they don't understand because they are not from my field, or okay, but good proposals, we should understand and think that it's important to then see what you can describe differently, add diagrams, write it in more simple terms to make people understand it. Mm. Okay, yes. We need a better connection between objectives, rationality, and mythos. 100%, Joanne, but I'm sure you can do that. Yes, Mandy, this is a great example. So something I always share is It's very important that you understand what is your study system, which of course some days would be great to do in a full European context or in a global context, right? But in a time frame of 5 years, 2 years, maybe you can only start working with Finland, right? So it's important that you see this as your study system. Huh? And to describe everything, like this is just a study system, but the questions we're going to answer are important at a much bigger framework context. And when I talk this, for example, the location is a typical case that we discussed. Sometimes if some of you are working biology with a certain species, that is your study system. But I want that whatever you're writing applies to many other organisms. For people in the medical field, sometimes we are talking, for example, about a type of cancer, which again is your study system. But what you are trying to unravel could be applied to any type of cancer. Just examples of study system versus the bigger idea. Yes, so anything that is not clear, thanks for clarifying, Sarah. We need to try to make it more clear. Don't just think, oh, but it's because they are not expert. No, 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 no. Let's see what we can do. Huh? Okay, yes, Adelina. So about the custom GPT work, so you will see you have it, well, when it's open there. So you can actually, that's a very good question. Sorry, I didn't display it. But you can write your idea or you can talk about your idea. So you could also use the audio function and explain what is your idea, what are your research questions, what is the main novelty, why you are the person. If you are already working on the project, you might want to give it the summary, for example, and then you take it from there. But I know that many people are a bit cautious about using Hello. Yeah, very strange. Zoom, yeah, Zoom just kicked me out. I hope you can all hear me again. Yes? Okay, amazing. Very strange. It has never happened to me before. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I was explaining how the ChatGPT works. So that's how you can use it. So you can just give a paragraph or just talk to it. And let me see 1 second that I get back. Okay. And it's recording. This is very weird. Sorry about that. But tomorrow we can talk more about the use of AI. But that's why I said if you are not using AI, don't use it. Because I know some people are more private, they don't want to share their ideas into these big models. Although in theory, I have a toggle that they should not use information to train their models. I don't know what they do in the background. So please only use it if this is something you already do. Okay, hope this helps. And the custom feature, yes. So the custom feature is that I did some behind the scenes work to customize this. So it has all the information of funded ERC proposals. So this is, if you use a general ChatGPT, goes to the entire world, but it's not focused on this. And it has specific instructions that I have given based on my work and what we teach and things about the idea and how to frame all this for you. So that's the custom part. You can, if you are going to use, you could compare. You could compare feeding it to here or to a general chat, and you will see how it differs. Yes, so that's the custom part. There is a question, isn't Claude better than GPT? We will leave that question for tomorrow. I'm no expert at any means on AI, and this is a big discussion. But this thing that I just did and share it with you is not really, or I don't know how to do it in Claude. So that's why also you have it in GPT. Tomorrow, if you want, we can also talk a bit more about AIs. Now, coming up towards the end, just also wanted to talk about the ERC dilemmas that you might have heard, and it's important you think about it. So you want a high-risk idea. We are talking about that. It's going to be trendy in 8 years. It's really a visionary idea, but with a contingency plan. Okay, and still needs to, some things need to work out. Not maybe everything, but some things need to work out. So we need that contingency plan. Also, it should not be a continuation of your work. It should not be a next step type of idea. But at the same time, you need to have enough expertise to show you can do it. And yes, it's a high gain idea, but it's not focused on the impact. ERC projects are fundamental by nature. So if you focus too much on the impact, it will not be suitable for this type of call. And think instead on the high gain in terms of scientific gain. And also it has, you need to use state-of-the-art methodology, but again, the methods shouldn't be the focus, okay? They are only the icing on the cake. The focus should be the questions you are gonna answer and how this will advance your scientific field. So these some important things that I want that all of you think about it. And actually, if any of you got this type of feedback when working or discussing your ERCs, please share it in the chat. I would love to see it. And then we can talk more about it later. Yeah, so tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more on AI and grant writing, no worries. Now, remember, a big thing, a big question that sometimes we ask ourselves, is it worth the time? And not just the time, but also the energy of writing these proposals. Well, especially you might have this type of news lately, and that's like, actually, that's why also ERC is changing the regulations, right? Because there are so many submissions that just the success rates are just getting lower and lower. So to me, 100% worth the time, but we need the right strategy around it. And I always like to say, yes, I do a conflict of interest because I help people to write these proposals. So of course, I want all of you write a grant proposal. And of course, I would love all of you join me, although I know that's not possible. But something that I keep seeing is that the magic is in the process, that when you really embark on this process, you're really stretching your thinking, your productivity systems, your writing skills, your collaborations. And funded or not, this will bring you benefits. So instead of is it worth the time, I want again that we reframe this like, how can you make it worth the time? Okay. And I want to show you the words of David. David wrote an ERC last year with us. And for him, something that he kept saying telling me this from the very beginning is how it made him feel like a scientist again. It made him focus on the science, to really put on pause and put it on the side of that administrative work that at some point many of you might be feeling. In connecting with this big thinking and working on big ideas. So just to finish, a reminder that writing is never a waste of time. Run proposals, papers. Don't wait for that idea to be perfect. Writing will help you get there. Writing is how we think. And I'm already be telling you today, also tomorrow and after tomorrow, that those of you who want some help, I love to work together. So we'll go today fast about the academic launchpad, our grant writing program, which what we want is to empower you with those skills and that you build a repeatable grant writing system. And we put also sales skills and storytelling skills, also you can do this with confidence. And it's a hybrid program. And I want to share this because sometimes I get these questions. So we combine training, coaching, and consultancy. So for grant writing, it's very common to hire a consultant, for example, but we really like to include these three. So for the training, we have a core curriculum with our own frameworks developed from my years in science, but also working with many people. And then with the coaching, we do this online in Q&A sessions, co-working sessions in a weekly basis for 4 months. So for 4 months, we really follow with you and your process. And we do part of this consultancy, like being here to answer any questions about decision making, how to position your idea for the right panels. We do strategic feedback on short pieces of text in a group setting on Mondays. And we have a higher tiers for more text revision. And well, I encourage you all to go to our website and have a look, but we have a unique curriculum that merges these three things. My research experience, coaching experience, and that business experience. I saw some question of how we ended up here, so happy to chat more about it at the end. And just something that often I also see myself talking to people. Why a training component? I just want the feedback like a consultant. Grant writing, I would say, is a €1 million career skill. It's a skill I want that you have because you can do it over and over and over in academia and outside of academia. And when you get feedback, yes, that fixes that proposal. But when you get the skills, you build up for every future proposal. And this, like I said, applies for your entire career. So this is what I want for all of you. So be sure you build that skill with us or without us, but work on building this skill. So also for those of you who are interested, this group program right now is at €2,000 plus VAT when it applies. And just to put it into perspective, for a full day of training for a group, I charge €4,000. So for this price, we are working together for 4 months. And only this week, you also get as a bonus our virtual writing retreat. It's very soon, it's next week. If you cannot attend, you will also get a ticket for our autumn retreat, which right now we are focusing all on storytelling. So if anyone is interested in enrolling, know that during these 3 days of the bootcamp, so only until Wednesday, when you enroll yourself, then you get a bonus strategy call with me. Another option, if you have the budget to pay through your institutional budget, we can totally process that. You send me a message, then we will process the invoice. That takes quite some time. That's why the bonus strategy is only for the people who will make the payment themselves, either to the website or bank transfer. And if you have any questions, please message me, especially because these bonus only are available for a few days. And I also wanted to share with you that we are also organizing a 2-day intensive. So this will be for ERC proposals, especially advanced and starting grants, because we need that people come with a draft ready, especially for a big one. And here, what we will do is in these 2 days, you will follow our framework. So section by section, we will show you examples, how to write it, how to optimize for copywriting, selling, storytelling section by section. So you will learn all these frameworks, and you also will get as a bonus all the online curriculum of the Academic Launchpad. So this is especially for those of you who like this, but you don't see yourself in a 4-month coaching program. This today is ideal. This today intensive. Before we leave today, and we have still some time to go for questions. So if you have questions, be sure you start writing them, and we will still go through them before we go. So action plan, please everyone take a screenshot of these. Plan your work until the deadline of your call. If you have several grants in your view, then continue with the next one, using the template that we have that I have shared. That's number one. Brainstorm your visionary ideas. For that, I highly recommend you go for a walk and think big, or do some writing, some journaling, and keep working on this. This doesn't end up today. Then those of you who already use ChatGPT, please try our custom GPT. And if you compare it with the normal, you will see the difference there. And if you want to let us know how is it going, I'm very curious. I'm always very curious about this. And of course, do some old-fashioned Google research about your call. Start downloading the guidelines, see when they are going to be the webinars, join that WhatsApp group, or if there is any other type of forum. Get informed about your calls. This is very important. And just a reminder, at 3, so in about a bit more than half an hour, we have a co-working session. And for that, ideally, you already are writing your grant proposal. If not, you can use that time to take action on this little homework of today. And with this, thank you so much all for your attention, for staying till the end. So I'm going to have a look at the questions that popped up here. So I will be now answering. If you post a question earlier and you see that I'm not replying, maybe because it's too far and I don't find it. So feel free to write again. So happy you all liked it. Very happy. Thank you all for applying. And we say, this wouldn't be the same if you wouldn't be here also sharing. So thanks to all of you. Amazing. So let me see the questions. I'm going to start from the bottom. So I see here some questions from Adelina. So an email with the info from the last slides. Yes, you will receive at the end. I will send an email with the recording. So there you can take a screenshot of all the slides you want. Yes, so about the several grants, I think I also mentioned already. So yes, you can apply to several grants, but just an example. If you are going to apply to a national grant, right? And you know that the panelist members or the reviewers, they're all from your country, and you are writing the same idea to the same people, they're not going to like this. So I always recommend a mix and match. So same idea to maybe a national grant and maybe a European grant, but also know that some grants have incompatibilities, that if you get 2, maybe 1, you need to say no. And that's okay. That could be the case. But it depends a little bit. Then also, actually, I would add something. Some grants, you also need to write which other funding or which other grants have you applied to with that idea. And you don't want that this spoils some big opportunities. So for example, if we are talking here about an ERC idea, I would not submit that ERC idea somewhere else. I would wait to see what happens with that. But still, remember, connect with the abundance of ideas. I'm sure you can write another angle, another aspect to other calls. So let me see. Sarah has a question. Is the bonus for a one-on-one session? Yes, Sarah, but this is the bonus that is only until Wednesday and for people who sign up directly, not via their institution. If somebody wants to do that, but wants to do a bank transfer or has questions, Let me know. I'm super happy to reply. This is very simple. It's because when we do it via your institution, we can do it, but it takes me about an hour of time. So if some people are not doing that, then I'd rather give you that hour to you. Mhm. Yes, Hannah has a very good comment. In my field, people are often talking about how they don't want technologically deterministic research, where it's all about the methods, but then they found highly methods-based work. So yeah, this is one of the dilemmas. That's why I say you need to see it as the icing on the cake. Yes, we need this cool method, especially if we are talking about ERC. Yeah, it depends a bit on the call, but if it's one of these big ambitious, you want really state of the art to visionary type of methods. But the proposal needs to be focused on the questions that you will answer with the methods. So not focus on how novel the method is, how cool this method is, how necessary the method is. No, 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 no. Focus on how cool the question that we will be able to answer is, and how necessary that answer is. So the focus is not on the mythos. Yes, they are there, but that's not where the focus is. Hope this helps, because this is very important, and one of the most common mistakes of the people when we start working together, that one of the common pieces I have to give, to not put the focus on the methods. Hopefully that helps. Okay. Let me see more questions. Okay, Aishwarya is asking, could you give an overview of the next 2 days of the bootcamp? Yeah, so we will have class today, tomorrow, Wednesday, always same time, 1.5 hours. Tomorrow, we are going to be talking about building a support team and what needs. Actually, let me double check so I can tell you a little bit more. This support team is a key aspect of a successful grant proposal, okay? So super important. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk also about the mindset and the importance of detaching yourself from the results, and how moving from seeing a grant and then, oh, it's rejected and life is over, to seeing the grant as a little step of a bigger plan. Okay? Then we will also talk, well, about investments that you need to do. Time investments and how to plan for those, energy investments and how to make it part of the plan, and the money investments to see the things that people invest money on when going for big grants. And then I will also have a look at the chat and see what other things we will talk, but also probably tomorrow is when we will talk about AI in grant writing. And then the last day, we are going to see the 4 pillars of our program and our framework. So the first pillar about creating and the creativity cycle, so you can understand how to plan for that creative cycle and then get the most of your creativity. Then we will also talk about writing and the difference between writing a paper and writing for a grant proposal, including the importance of storytelling, selling, and I will give you my 4 keyword questions that you can answer and then sell at the same time. And then believing. That's again how important it is to have this believing mindset to get funded. So that's the plan. And then every day also we will have a co-working session, a reminder. Let me see. Ray is asking, when is the math program start? So actually it starts every month. We start with a new cohort. So anytime you join, that would start. Only July and August and December, that doesn't count towards the 4 months, because I said it's typical holiday time. We do a bit of behind the scenes support, but not much. That's why they are bonus months. And we start first week of the month. And for the co-working session, yes, same link, always the same link. Yes, the recording once, maybe I need to see with Zoom when I can get it, but think that at least after the co-working session, for sure you will have it, maybe earlier, if I have time. Let me see, I'm here scrolling through questions. If you have questions that I haven't replied and you would like to have an answer or that we chat more about it, please post it again. Okay, I get a private message. I didn't get the cost of the one-on-one session. No, I don't offer one-on-one sessions alone. So it's only a bonus when you enroll in the academic launchpad. Okay. I only offer these sessions as part of the program. And if you have questions, please do not hesitate, like either email or WhatsApp. I said in the beginning, I encourage people to write me in WhatsApp because my emails often end up in spam. So even if, also during the bootcamp, even if you often get them in your inbox, check during these days the spam folder because maybe some of the emails will still be there, or some this is in the quarantine folder also. Those are my places often. Okay, do we have any more questions before we leave? Hi, Priscilla, you're also here. It's always so nice to see some of you here returning. Actually, I think some of you also were in the January bootcamp. Let me know what has happened between our January bootcamp and today. I'm very curious if some of you want to send me an email and tell me more. Well, if not, I'm going to close the session and then I see you all in about 25 minutes on the same link for a co-working session. So do a little bit of a break, move your body, go outside if you can. And also, if you can start thinking what you want to finish during a co-working session, would be amazing. Okay, thank you all. Bye-bye.